Good people. Welcome. It's about time. I'm here. I'm finna start talking, preaching, whatever you want. I got it. Let's go ahead and let's get into it. Y'all don't understand how excited I really am for this. Because I've always wanted to do it, but I never just did it. I got a team. I got them shooters. What Ross say? You got shooters. I got shooters. Let's do what the mother brothers can't do now. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a great show lined up for you today. We're feeling real presidential. Not that president, but some black presidents. We got that SGA vice president. Damn it, what do we say about the show? It's about time. Ladies and gentlemen, I gotta go to my desk. I gotta get up out of here, because we roll. My boy. What's up, my brother? Mr. Vice President, how you doing?
Doing good, sir.
Real presidential today. Xante,
Yes, sir.
let's start talking. It's about time. We got a woman president for the illustrious Prairie View A&M University. What have you learned being alongside Dr. Ruth Simmons?
Man, Dr. Simmons, she is just a well of knowledge. Mm-hmm. One thing when she came in, her presence, when they came to the room. I'm always trying to get insight on how to become a better leader. And just the way she commands the room is the first thing that pointed out to me. Dr. Simmons is the type of woman that can say less to say more. She doesn't need to expound. She doesn't need to prove her intellect. Mm-hmm. She says how she feels, and she says it in a way, in the sense that it doesn't make you question why she's doing what she do, or why she explained the way she explained.
Okay.
She's very down to earth, very student oriented. To me, it's special to be around her because at some point in time in my life, I either want to be a president of a HBCU or a principal of a high school. Okay. So just to watch her not only command but be able to delegate responsibility the way that she does, but still be very genuine who she is very special for her to be here at this moment.
I like that. The vibe I get from Dr. Simmons is that of a one, like you said, a woman who commands the room. I get a Felicia Rashad, a Cicely Tyson, a Viola Davis. A strong woman who's secure in who she is. She knows what she's going to do, and she's not going to be deterred from doing that. So the approach that you've seen her take, what are you going to do with your role as the SGA vice president? What are you going to do in terms of getting bills passed or bringing something new to PV that we maybe haven't seen before, or something that you've heard the students clamoring for? What are you going to do to get that into PV's illustrious history?
So one thing about Dr. Simmons is she's very student oriented.
Okay.
She has a feeling that I can't move unless the students move. One thing as a leadership, you make responsibility, mm-hmm. and you make decisions based off of what you know. But a lot of times, leaders don't go down to the lowest of levels to understand what are the basic issues. And so a lot of times, us as leaders, we can make decisions that we feel like better our campus, and it misses the mark because we don't know. I really want to go back to the ground, the grassroots of Prairie View. Being able to just to sit down and talk to regular PV students, ask them, what is your issues, and not only from a mass scale, but also like in departmental, what's happening in your housing situation. What are the little things that you think can make this university better? Because as a leader at SGA, it's not just my role, but it's everybody at SGA's role to represent, serve, and fight for the student body. Okay. So not only am I challenging myself to go out and just talk to people on a very personal basis, but all my SGA members. Because at the end of the day, it's all a team effort to make this university great.
Okay. Speaking of SGA, Jacolin was president last year. Did you ask for any advice, or did you try to get any inside scoop on, the pressures that come with having this position? Although he was the president, you're the vice president, but did you still try to get an inside scoop on the ins and outs of SGA, and if something is to happen, such as a tragedy or a big, not a catastrophe, or maybe a great celebration or something like that? Did you try to get the ins and outs of how to combat that?
And definitely. My whole philosophy is you got to be the position before you get the position. Okay. So when I was just a senator with the SGA, I used to talk to Jacola and Kayla a lot, just for not only just logistics on how the business is ran, but what are some of the stresses? What are some of the weaknesses? What are some of the strengths? Of the position. I try to get as much insight as possible and try to put my mindset as if I was the vice president. Because even though Jacola was the president, he had to work with a vice president, his whole tenure. And so when it comes to me and Kendrick now in our administration, my thing is, even though I have a whole Senate to run, I want to be, Kendrick's right-hand man. I want to be able, this is something that we say, I want to be able to say, bless you before he sneezes. I want to make sure that me and him are on one accord. Because at the end of the day, if your leadership is not on one accord with each other, everything trickles down to everything else getting messed up. So just learning how they work together, how they, went into meetings. Because, when we go into, meetings with administration, sometimes, they may have already something set in their mind, and we have to be able to convince them, even though y'all have a great idea, this is how it can be changed so it can impact the student body in a better way. So just learning all the different aspects, really helped me in my, really helped not only me, but, me and Kendrick in this administration for this year.
Okay. So since we're presidential right now, we're going to talk about the current president of the United States. So you talked about having a team.
Yes.
You listen to your team, right? Your team is there to help you. Your team is there to get you that W that you desire for whatever, for if you're trying to get a bill passed, or if you're trying to convince the administration of something, or if you're just doing something for the PV students and you're trying to, your team is chock full with PV students. So, speaking of Trump, let's talk about the situation in Puerto Rico. He thought it was okay to take paper towels and shoot them into the crowd as if it was a basketball, like they were going to fight to the death for some paper towels to keep clean or something. That's like if we had a power outage here, you took some power cords and just started throwing them into the phases from the 3rd floor to all the students.
Yeah.
Being in the position that you're in, knowing that he holds the highest office in the land, what would you have done in that situation?
Man, to me that was a slap in the face. Like the seriousness that Puerto Rico had to go through, people dying, people losing homes, like that was a very serious moment. Okay. And you got to understand that a lot of people are personally affected in that moment. And you got to, even though you can't really empathize because you weren't there, you got to be able to sympathize with that, and your actions have to act so accordingly. First of all, you got to always, as a leader, you got to be able to calm the storm with your leadership. You got to speak words of encouragement. You got to speak with inspiration. Even if it is a situation of desperation, and it seems like all hope is lost, you have to be a beacon of light. Because at the end of the day, if you seem hopeless in a situation, everybody else feels like they're hopeless. So first you got to have the humanity within you to speak life in the situation. Second, your actions got to follow the word that you speak. Like if you talk about, helping them out, you got to actually help them out. I've always wanted to be a general out there with the soldiers. I never wanted to be a general out there say, hey, y'all go fight and then just watch. Like I've always been the ones to want to get my hands there. That's why I've always been involved in so many organizations. That's why, when it comes to ideas, I've always wanted to be a part of it. Because you got to show them that not only do you talk that talk, but you got to be able to walk that walk. And then, of course, with you having a team, you got to make sure your team is about that business so that they get things done. Because, there's a lot of protocols when it comes to natural disasters that the American government holds. As serious as the situation was, because you saw, when Hurricane Harvey came, people all talking about national love, this and that. Like when Puerto Rico came, you should have been on the same P's and Q's as you was with Hurricane Harvey and any other disaster. So I feel like the way he just handled the situation was not instrumental of a leader of a whole nation, especially it being America, and that, hopefully, when if God willing, another disaster comes, that he learned from his mistakes and his team can convince him that you got to act as a president in that type of situation.
Do you think that his team is as close knit as your team is?
Oh man, I would. I mean, I don't really know the logistics and the inside of it.
Let's just look at how he goes about his business. You know, they say your real friends are going to tell you when you're wrong. Mm-hmm. So if you have a team behind you, I would think that you would bring in real friends, or not even friends, but people that you can really trust. So if I'm your friend Xante, and you go out there and you're talking about, let's say a whole bunch of students lose their meal plans. Mm-hmm. You go out there and you say something wrong. You say, well, at least I still got mine, so I can eat it. As your political advisor or even your friend, I would tell you that you were wrong. So would you listen? Because I think it goes back to having the right people around you, and not just because we saw what happened with Sean Spicer. Mm-hmm. We saw what's happening all throughout his administration. He's letting people go. Yeah. So if you have to let that many people go, that means you don't have a team behind you. Yeah. And Rick Ross said it best to me. You got shooters, I got shooters. And I don't mean in the literal sense, but you got to have somebody that's going to ride for you.
That's true.
And his team doesn't necessarily have to ride for him, but they have to clean up a lot. So I would think that, would you rather have a cleanup team or somebody that's out there with you, guiding you in the right direction, telling you, not necessarily telling you what to say, because you have to, at the end of the day, what you're saying it can't be manufactured in a situation like what happened in Puerto Rico or Hurricane Harvey. It has to come from the heart. Although you have to toe a certain line, it has to come from the heart. It has to, you from Houston?
I'm from Clear Lake, Texas.
Okay.
Home of the reckless. Walk up and snatch a necklace, you know.
Okay. Okay, that was a good little say. I like that. But do you think that his team has got more consumed with having to clean up his mess than keep him from a mess?
Okay, so I'm getting what you're saying. Man, I know one thing with my team is they always keep me accountable. Mm-hmm. Like they are willing to tell me when I do good and when I do wrong. Okay. And I feel like it makes me a much better vice president, knowing that I have a select committee that's willing to call me out. People on Trump's team, and especially considering that so many people got fired, and if you really have trust in your team, you should trust in their judgment. I feel like with Trump's team, they are so scared because Trump has a natural tendency, if he doesn't like you, he will put you out there on social media. He will dog you. It don't matter if you support him all up to that moment. The moment he feels like you're double-crossing him, he's going to call you out on it in a very disrespectful way. Mm-hmm. That's not tolerable. And I feel like a lot of this team feels like we have to be yes men. Because at the end of the day, you know, he also, you know, the government pays their salary. And they know that if he fires them, then you know they won't be able to feed their family. So I feel like they're not on this team out of respect, but on this team out of fear.
Okay. So I want to get something out of you. Do you secretly want to be president
of the United States?
No, of PV. Not of PV, but of the SGA. Do you wish that was you?
Nah.
You can tell me. Ain't nobody watching. You can tell me.
Definitely not.
So let's say something happened to Kendrick. Your rise to power. Would you run in, or would you try to show that you care, that you're sad that he's gone, and then assume the brass ring?
Well, my position title is that if the president is no longer president, I become president. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, Kendrick is an excellent president.
Yes, he is.
What me and Kendrick have done this summer, in terms of meeting by meeting, getting things done, you know, handling situations as Harvey, you know, when the white nationalists was coming to Texas A&M, the whole thing with the county, you know, taking away the early voting polls. Yeah. I couldn't ask for a better president in Kendrick. But at the end of the day, and I support him like anyway. But if something were to happen, like I would have to step up and take that role. But the reason why I took SGA vice president wasn't because I didn't feel like I could be SGA president. I took vice president because one, I've been in the Senate. I wanted to be able to control the legislative branch, and I wanted to take a role in a sense where, you know, whoever was the president, I would be their right-hand man, but I still have power instilled within me, so that the government can move smoothly. Because at the end of the day, if you have a strong leader, but the second-hand man is not up to par, it can mess everything up. So I'd rather have that strong leader for this instance while I learn. Cause I got bigger goals later on. Like I said, I wanted to be HBCU president, and I wanted to be able to learn the role more before I just thrust myself in a situation and being something that I'm not prepared for.
Okay, so we're coming up on the end of our session here. So I wonder, is there anything that you want to say to the people at home, or is there anything that you want to get off your chest? Because we hear the rumblings about PV, and we hear the naysayers, but we know the school that we're at, and we're damn proud to be here. So is there anything that you want to say to them, or just to the student body, to let them know what you're doing behind the scenes? Because there's a lot that we see you on Twitter, we see you talking, and it's always positive. We see you giving history on PV and everything. But is there anything that we may not see that you kind of want to give an inside scoop on as to what you're doing and why you were the right man to be SGA vice president?
For me, it's all about being an activist. A lot of people nowadays are reactive, not proactive. I felt like I've been a proactive man since my freshman year. You know, a lot of people don't see student activism as just getting an organization and doing work for it. But to me, that's activism because that builds up your university. I have high pride in who I am as a culture, as a black man, as a Prairie View man. So I'm going to do everything that I can to uplift both of those entities. Prairie View, you know, one thing it showed me is Prairie View is a get in what you get out school. You know, a lot of people may go through their school like, man, I can't stand Prairie View, this and that, such and such. That's because they wasn't really active in the school. They didn't get things out of it. You know, I'm going on trips every weekend for my university, serving on behalf, representing, and Prairie View has allowed me to garner all of that. And when it comes to Prairie View in itself, a lot of people don't know the true history of Prairie View. I went on my own to research, you know, what the Prairie View would go through, the oppression, you know.
Yeah, so we know about the party history.
We know about the party.
The turn up. We don't know about the...
And part of the issue is that we allow secondhand resources to give us the information. Yeah, as a freshman, like, you know, pals give us these little trinkles, this and that. Yeah, you know, you might know about the unknown 8, this and that, such like little stuff, this and that. But do you really know, like Matthew Gaines or William Holland? Do you know that Texas A&M in the university system, whenever we first started, like they tried to change our name so they didn't have to give us money through the Texas Constitution? You know, did you know that when the unknown 8 came, they actually left because all they could do was be sharecroppers and came back? They know that the first class at Texas A&M was mathematics, science, this and that. We had stuff like broom making, like stuff how to still be slaves. Like, so if you truly knew the triumph from the struggle of Prairie View, you'd be able to relate that on your own life as you struggle as a freshman and now you're triumphing as a graduate. So I really think people really just need to take the time to really understand the history, not only, you know, culturally, but as a university, and then take that information, spread it, and be active in their university so that they can be a part of the change.
You cold, dog. You cold. You cold with it. Xante, that is the end of our session. It was a pleasure to have you on here. You opened me up. You gave me an inside scoop. And I just want to say thank you for that, my brother. Professor Excalibur is what they call you.